Hey, it's Guy. It's me. I'm Guy Meyer, sitting here in my palatial San Anselmo studio, California, that is, folks. It could be, maybe my brain is too tired. Maybe I'm going down the aging Pelosi, Biden, McConnell, losing your brain and still thinking you have something to offer people mode of thinking. Well, us senior citizens. What are we waiting for is the question. So October 3rd, 2023, August had me traveling on an Amtrak train for a week in Oklahoma. Ended up being in Oklahoma City. September has got me back to work at the bagel shop where I work a couple of days a week in San Anselmo. And supposedly I'm back in the saddle with California Times at the Community Media Center studio, but that has not materialized quite yet as I push forward here. I think the thing about leverage to change the world, Warriors of the Rainbow. Now, this is a fabulous book I just ordered, published in 1962. Really, it was at the beginning of the 60s, 70s wave. Among much of the flow of insight and inspiration of the times. It's interesting if you go to Wikipedia and look up Warriors of the Rainbow, particularly with this fellow's name, William Maloya, Willoya. He was an Eskimo. I imagine he probably put that hood on just for the photograph. But the Wikipedia article paints this book as almost a criminal enterprise or something that you're not supposed to read. It's got touches of Christianity. It's false prophecy, stealing the thunder, the power of the Native Americans. Despite all the Native Americans who participated in the creation of this book, it was a global prophecy, a belief, talking about the leverage. Excuse me. I take a glimpse of myself when I look into the camera, and I probably shouldn't be doing that, looking at myself. I was on the train, on the Amtrak train. I wrote some things down. You still have your $40, my Amish friend teases me, as I make my way back to the table in the observation car, bringing from my seat my guitar, 2 books. Number 1, No Word for Time by Evan Pritchard. Number 2, Real Rock Guitar by Ken Chipkin. And my chargers, so my camera gets charged. All my stuff, exclamation point.
I was able to sort of just process, like, what I was thinking as I was seeing this was how many different people and, like, types of people, and groups of people, and languages and cultures and religions have traveled through, like, the Great Plains, but, like, on foot or horseback, right, or like railroad, or right, automobile, so on and so forth. But it was just, it's very easy to imagine it. The Midwest is so open, and it's easy to compare pictures from the 1890s, the turn of the century. You can almost like Photoshop them into what you're seeing.
All my stuff. The Amish dude maybe laughs at all my stuff. It's not your words in a book. It's not your books in a word. Time to put down the pen and life never end.
Scouting for boys. But around the world, we have the same scout oath and the scout law, translated across different languages. It has been the exact same. On my honor, I will do my best to do my duty to God and my country, to obey the scout law, to help other people at all times, to keep myself physically strong, manually awake, and morally straight. And then trustworthy, loyal, hopeful, friendly, courteous, kind, obedient, cheerful, too brave, clean, reverent.
Wow.
In
I remember
173
this
different countries
vaguely.
and languages. And,
Wow.
It's an international movement.
Wow. Interesting.
So that's the same. Scouting has the exact same mission of developing young people to grow up to be, or to make them prepared for life, right? Be prepared. You remember that part. To be good citizens, making ethical decisions for a lifetime of personal fitness. You said flying 4 or 5 times.
Oh,
Just,
right.
Just as an example, a different pace and way of living.
Right.
It's because that is what they've chosen to value. If you want to change the behavior, you have to change the incentive every single time. And again, right, that doesn't have to be money. Sidebar. Camera's on. I'm wearing a scouting uniform. This is in no way an endorsement of scouting or their policies or beliefs. I'm an individual speaking only my own mind.
Max, I probably should have turned this back on again. But I'll just say, it was like, I felt like we were on like a good track again.
Totally fine too.
Yeah.
As an adult in the scouting, I have to like not make political statements
Right.
that like are perceived as
Right.
I just wanted to put that out there. That's on tape. Do what you will. If you want to keep rolling, hold it. So I don't think it's I chose to go sleep in the dirt and walk a lot for two weeks because that was the incentive to me. That was the behavior because I was able to recognize the value of having the opportunity to challenge myself, embrace nature. I know the benefits that brings for a person. If you want to change that behavior on a societal level, or change the behavior of our government, which is also even the same kind of rational calculation, because I don't believe that people are stupid. They are making with their information what they think is the best decision for them every time.
Right.
What I'm asking you then is, how are you going to change that? I see it as either you, if we talk about like carrots and sticks as different kind of shorthands for abbreviations, either you offer new carrots and sticks, or like you change the system, you change the balance. Sounds like that's kind of what California's trying to do. I haven't looked much into their policies at all, but if they are, say, setting very aggressive taxes on like car emissions, or dropping subsidies on fossil fuels and increasing subsidies on electric energy or renewable energy, they're trying to change the system and change that framework to then change the behavior. I think the other way you can do it is convince me just why the carrot that already exists is so much better. There's multiple different incentives available to me, multiple things that I can choose to value. We're all picking one or another.
Well, I think we're guided, and I think that.
How do you change that?
Yeah, because I advocate basically a non-legalistic solution to that behavioral issues. My sense is that it will come out of the minds of the people that you say indeed are making their best decisions for them.
And I'm inclined to agree with you.
And because I think what I'm looking for in my humble way, I say wink or whatever, is that if I'm so whatever audacious, whatever, to think in terms of what a civilization that's sustainable, truly sustainable, then I do think it has to be done with the full heart and will of the people. Like, what is an indigenous lifestyle of the 21st century for all human beings? I mean, can we aspire? Indigenous means of the place. You're of the place. Concept, but
I really like the word recognize. Read to do again, and to think and to see that we can, in this question of our big societies and how we choose to embrace what externally can be very much seen as a harder lifestyle. You have chosen a harder lifestyle by kind of society's big metric of not having a car. I am thinking about my life. I don't know how I would go about it without a car. I don't know how I'm getting to school and work. It doesn't work the way that I've set up where I choose to go to school and work and live. Now I get to my friends' houses. And you've chosen that harder thing. I chose the harder lifestyle, admittedly for a briefer time. But in doing that, I think it's really easy to become blind to the thing that we have. And to see that carrot for all that it's truly worth. And so we gotta continually recognize, to again step back and look on what we're living, the value of the life that you're trying to live, of that locality and connectivity, to be an indigenous white American. And for me to try that very simple life in the dirt. It takes a lot of intentionality to restart and to kind of wake up each day with a why. Here's why I'm doing this. Here's the beauty and the value of what I'm doing, and use that to fuel ourselves. Because especially if we want to talk about environmentally, but sustainability, of course, is a lot bigger than just our environment. The unsustainable life presents itself with a lot of comfort. It's easy.
It's going with the flow is there.
With the flow, yeah. And it's an easy, hollow promise. I think there's a lot less fulfillment, and there's a lot of signs and symptoms in our society that I think we could say point to a deeper problem. And I think that problem could be the unsustainable go with the flow that we have. So it's comfortable to go with the flow, even if it's ultimately negative for us. Choosing to go against it becomes harder. Wake up each day, find your...
Sitting still high in the New Mexico mountains. You still have your $40? This was sort of like our inside joke, the Amish dude. Because I told him the story of how I can't remember now. Cafe car, $40. I thought I left $40 down there, or can't remember what the story was. Diane Feinstein, Nancy Pelosi, our new senator. I'll read a couple of things here, politics of our world, just trying to reference who we are, so you know there's not too many secrets in the way I think, people. A lot going on in California. People from outside California sometimes believe that they wish their state could be as enlightened or as advanced as California. And I just wish my state was more red, white, and blue than just blue. We're just worshiping a flag that doesn't want to see the other side. So a friend writes this is regarding, in California, we have our mandated housing where communities all across California are given, are required to prove, required to turn over the keys to developers, the rights to build X amount of houses every 8 years or 10 years. They're given new numbers. My little town of 12,000 people, San Anselmo, was given the number of 850 new units it was supposed to provide. This is despite the fact that California's population is flatlining the last 3 years. So my friend Amy writes me, her quote is so cogent and sharp. Well, our legislators have shown that they have no regard for stewardship, common sense, planning, humanity, the environment, or life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Unless you are a self-funding and self-insuring mega developer who can tolerate a small percentage of profit loss and magnanimously toss in 10% below market rate units, then they'll fight for you. She's referring, of course, to our local representatives. I'm still outraged, signs my friend Amy. And I guess I am too. And it's hard to put that outrage, release it, so it doesn't, you don't get all full of turmoil. It's a challenge. I think you got to speak your mind, and that's what I'm attempting to do now. Looking forward to the CMCM first studio show. I don't know when that's going to be. Another thing outrage is, there's got to be some other level of the fire inside us that we need to bring. And I guess music is still perhaps the passage. I'm not sure. I think we got to use our minds too and speak the truth to what's going on. I held up that book about T-1 AI, humanity's countdown to artificial intelligence and the new pursuit of global power. Fascinating. You get to realize that it's really about dominance. Dominance in AI will equate to power never before possible. Dominance. He refers to Putin and it's this military push. The author is the graduate of the U.S. Air Force Academy, previously led the national intelligence campaign for Operation Inherent Resolve in Syria and Iraq. First chairperson for artificial intelligence for the U.S. Air Force Headquarters, Pentagon. Currently director of operations at the Air Force / MIT Artificial Intelligence Accelerator. I think that the takeaway from this, and I haven't even read it, the takeaway from glancing at this book is how much the military is locked in to being a driving force in pushing artificial intelligence because of their beliefs that it's a question of world dominance. And that's interesting. That's interesting. Diane Feinstein, who passed away, lots of kudos, lots of people, memorials. But the story of reality, or what's been really going on in the news, is controlled, or that's what I think about artificial intelligence. It's all about manipulation. It's manipulation of thought, manipulation of a product or a vision, to quote from Michael Kanan in all his wonderful innocence, in making sure that we rule the world. Mike Kanan is a driving new voice in the field of AI. He's the voice of reason in the room, the one to look to, says Jeremy Bash, NBC News analyst, and coincidentally, former chief of staff for the CIA and Department of Defense. Isn't that interesting? It's the way the world is. So in Diane's, in all the obituary, the acclaim, it is mentioned here in this story that was from, what was this source of this story? I can't tell from mine. In 2014, the Intelligence Committee released the report's executive summary, and Feinstein used a speech on the Senate floor to call the CIA's actions a stain on our values and on our history. This is showing her courage and bravery, and call the CIA's actions. This is regarding the detention interrogation program investigating the use of waterboarding. She was the first woman to chair the Senate Select Committee on Intelligence. She held that position for 6 years. Feinstein used the speech on the Senate floor to call the CIA's actions a stain on our values and our history, delivering the remarks over the objections of President Barack Obama and officials in the CIA, period. What it doesn't tell you, and it's true, people, over the objections of Barack Obama and officials in the CIA to speak the truth about waterboarding and torture. But what this article doesn't tell you, one of the most powerful things she did at that time was to relate that the CIA had been spying, been actually spying on the Intelligence Committee. Yeah, President Barack Obama's CIA, his presidency, was spying on Diane Feinstein. She spoke out in this publicly. Not sure why they can't bring themselves to say that, because that might offend the narrative too much. Diane Feinstein knew some things, but in her old age, I think she bit her tongue and was kowtowed to the left wing of California, and couldn't bring herself to look at that a conservative perspective might actually aid Americans and be, in the long run, more progressive than our strange narrative that's being pushed now. Nancy Pelosi article. Nancy Pelosi run for election. How old is she? 83 years old. Now, more than ever, our city needs us to advance San Francisco values and further our recovery. Our country needs America to show the world that our flag is still there with liberty and justice for all, Pelosi said. She said democracy was at stake. San Francisco values, I thought about that. What is she referring to? What is San Francisco values? The city named after St. Francis. And what a horrible mess it is. Dangerous, crime rampant. What was San Francisco values? I just went to Hardly Strictly last week, a few days ago. I'm still reveling in it. Great bluegrass band dancing in Golden Gate Park. That's San Francisco values. But this left versus right, I think that's an embarrassment to claim that that's Pelosi. And what does she have to say about Diane Feinstein? 2 months before Diane. No, just was it just a week before Diane died? Pelosi has defended Feinstein's decision to remain in office despite recent health problems, telling Politico in an article published Thursday that her Democratic colleague was, quote, doing okay and playing down the severity of her health struggles. And that's like Newsom saying Biden, he's okay. He's okay. He doesn't really have a mind, but we got to support him because we all got his back, and we're the blue state people. I'm sorry. The blue states got me blue. So hardly strictly. Somebody gets on stage. First thing they got to say is, oh, it's good to be back in San Francisco. Austin, surrounded by the sea of red and this blue speck. Like, oh God, wouldn't it be good to be in a red, white, and blue state or country where we spoke to each other without fear, recognize that conservative isn't a crime and liberal is not the end all, is not just a solution, particularly if you refuse to listen to conservative. It's unbelievable. Oh dear, yeah.